Hello guys, welcome to an exciting video by me. We didn't finish our notes today for exponents, so we're going to do that now. And I'm going to break this video up into two parts. So we started talking about exponents, we went over the concept and the definition of what it meant, but the part we didn't get to was zero exponents. I'm trying to get this situated so it's easier to look at the board. We didn't go over zero exponents and negative exponents. So to start, what I first want to do is talk about what happens when you divide, which may not make sense right now, but when we get to negative exponents, you'll see the tie-in. So, for instance, if I asked you 5 divided by 5, we all know 5 divided by 5 is 1, right? If I asked you 10 divided by 10, we know that is equal to 1. Anything divided by itself is 1. And it goes for variables, and it goes for anything. Anything divided by itself is 1, because x goes into x one whole time. So this pattern is what we need to recognize. When we recognize that pattern, that anything divided by itself is 1, negative exponents become a little bit easier. So let's think about what that means. If I have x to the 5th power over x to the 6th power, this is really x to the negative 1 power. What does that even mean? And x to the negative 1 power is really 1 over x. So that seems a little confusing here. So let's go over that rule. Anytime you have, and I don't want to go too much in dividing powers because that's not really what we're doing. We're just looking at the rules, but it makes more sense when you understand that concept. So when you look at this, x to the 5th power would be 5 x's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over x to the 6th, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Knowing the rule of division, I know x divided by x is 1, so those guys cancel out, those guys cancel out, those guys cancel out, those guys cancel out, those guys cancel out to leave you 1. So as the numerator, I have 1, and then x, you have 1x on bottom, so it's 1 over x. When you have x to the 4th over x to the 3rd, you have x times x times x times x over x times x times x. So divide is 1, divide is 1, divide is 1, which leaves you x on top. So you don't need a negative exponent because x to the 4th over x to the 3rd is just x. So when we get to the notes in a second, which I'm going to put on the second video, you'll have something that looks like this. 5 to the negative 1 power. Well, what does 5 to the negative 1 power really mean? It means that you have 1 over 5. Because how would you come to 5 over 5 to the negative 1 power? That would be like me saying 5 to the 2nd over 5 to the 3rd, which is 5 times 5 over 5 times 5 times 5. So 5 divided by 5 is 1, 5 divided by 5 is 1, and it leaves you with 1/5, okay? So when you have a negative exponent, my rule is going to change, and I'm going to get to the rules when we get to the notes. Let's say we have x to the 3rd over x to the 3rd. What does this mean? Well, in expanded form, it means x times x times x over x times x times x. So x divided by x, x divided by x, x divided by x equals 1. When you subtract here, 3 divided by 3, you get 0. So anything to the 0 power is 1. Because when you divide with exponents, my rule is to subtract. So before, if you had x to the 5th over x to the 6th, 5 minus 6 is x to the negative 1. Well, we know in expanded form, you would end up with 1x on the bottom. So my rule with exponents is to keep your base the same and subtract. So x to the negative 1, 5 minus 6, is negative 1, which turns into this right here, because we can't have negative exponents in math. That may seem a little tricky, and this video may seem a little long, so come see me in tutoring so we can clear up any confusion. That's just the background I want to give you before I give you the notes. So right now, take out your notes that we've already glued in and that's going to be on page 3 in your journal, and I will fill those notes in for you. Hopefully you have written down what I wrote down on the board on the left-hand side of the paper, because that's where we do notes that I talk about. So stay tuned for video 2.